Hey, all right. I believe that we're starting to stream through to everyone out there. If you guys can hear us loud and clear, let me know. Um, let's see what's going on here. Okay, so first things first, I want to remind everyone to go to hankstrange.com, sign up for the email list, check out Lola's deals. She's got daily deals and all that kind of stuff. You can go to lolasdeals.com as well, and you'll be able to get in touch with that. Let's see what else is going on here. On there, we've got promo codes. We've got all kinds of things. Links to the merch store. You want to get... I don't know if you could actually... Here, let me see if I could go live here for a second. Big shout out to Ballistic Ink, where I got this Hawaiian Sophie plus Uzi, the Hawaiian shirt from. Since, the ATF feels like they have to report everyone that rocks these. I figured I'd rock mine today. So that's from Ballistic Ink. You could go there. You could get lots of different shirts we have. We have Gun Nerd stuff and other shirts that are up there, including the Tactical Fat line that I just released on there. So you guys could check all that stuff out. Big shout out to Safety Harbor Firearms for sponsoring the show tonight. Shout out to Walter and everyone else in the family. And let's see here. Let me start throwing people in. Kevin Dixie. Can you go sideways on that camera or no?
Oh, you need me to go sideways? Absolutely.
Yeah, let's see how that...
Fancy dancy tripod.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Okay, so let me press the open here while we're getting all set up.
Welcome back to the Hank
All right, make sure
Strange
you guys
Situation.
smash the thumbs up.
Lifestyles of the locked
Subscribe,
and
ring the bell, all that kind of good stuff so you can be notified when we go live. And share this if you can. Share and smash the thumbs ups right now. We've got Diximus Maximus, Reverend the Honorable Kevin Dixie. I don't know if he what the hell's going on. His house is under construction or what's going on? He's flipping houses.
I'm sitting out in my garage right now, enjoying the weather.
Oh, okay.
But if I sit outside, it'll be too bright. Plus the mosquitoes, they're a little bit more forceful. If I sit in here, that's why I had to go put sleeves on. I tried to show y'all my sexy, but they were like, meat, and it didn't go well. So
yeah,
I'm trying to.
Thank you for that. For once, I appreciate mosquitoes. Thank you, mosquitoes, for that. We didn't need to see him sleeveless on the show. So, welcome back, Kevin. How's it been going? You were complaining. You were complaining to me. Here's what I think is funny. By the way, before we even get into that, we've also got Rolando, Puerto Rican Pistolero, PR Pistolero.
How are you gentlemen doing tonight?
Joining us as well here. So, before let's... And you know what? We're supposed to have Mychael, MJ's Firearms on, but I don't know. He's a millennial. He's trying to figure out how to get up on the Skypes. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but we'll see. Okay, so first thing first here. Kevin Dixie complaining to me because he hasn't been on the show in a while.
In a long time.
Yeah, like that's my fault that he's been busy doing his, obviously, as you guys can see, he's doing his podcast with the cigars and all that kind of stuff. Now you're too hot and famous, I guess, to come on the podcast.
Yeah, Hank, I gotta tell you, man.
You try to blame it on me too. You always try to make me look like the bad guy.
It's your damn fault. It's your fault.
Oh,
it's your fault. If you haven't had 700 shows at the same time every night for a few years now, then but things could have worked out differently. But you didn't invite me on. I got lonely, so I said, you know what? Nobody will talk to me, so I'm just gonna go ahead and start my own thing.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I'm not knocking. It's a good thing. Yeah.
Nobody would talk to me, so I'm like, hey, I have been missing coming on the show. When I started Stogies and Straps, it was fun. It was I think we probably ran. It's kind of informal thing, not a podcast, just an IGTV series. And I think I ran like 30 of them. I mean, we had everybody on there. It was a good time, good fun. I'm gonna do more of them, but it did kind of suck. So I'm like, damn, he's got some pretty good shows going. And you start at the same time I started. But then I saw that you did split shows. I saw you bringing people on for like an hour, then bringing other people on. I saw that a couple of times.
Hold on a second. Someone's trying to call me. Oh, okay. I don't know. Hold on a second here. Let me see if I can get the option to add him into this. I'm not sure how we add him in. I'm going to have to decline his thing here in a second. I think I see who he is. Hold on a sec. Let me see. So just bear with us. Go ahead, Kevin. Keep talking
No,
to the people here while I try to add Mychael in.
I was done, blaming you, but I mean, it is your fault. But it's good to be back. It's good to be back on the show and chat with people. This is always one of my favorite formats, so it's always good. I'm gonna see here now where I can log in and see everybody's comments, plus see how sexy I am on the other end of the screen.
Right. Of course.
But no, man, it's good to be back. You've been having a good time, and obviously, 2020 has been interesting. So we probably got all kind of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, there's gonna be so many things. So I'm trying to get Mike back in here. I don't know whether or not that's working.
I'll keep things flowing.
Yeah.
So,
Rolando.
No.
Yes, sir.
Oh no.
Tell us about yourself, man. Where are you from? What do you do? Who you are?
No, Kevin Dixie, you don't get to take over that easy. Hold on a second.
I'm trying to keep things busy
Hold on a second. Hold it down, Kevin Dixie. Hold it down.
All right, man. I'm just trying to keep people entertained.
Yeah. That someone wanted to know what cigar you're smoking, so let's get that out of the way while we're doing it.
Don Rafa cigar. This is a bourbon and cognac infused cigar. It's pretty good.
Bourbon and cognac. Okay, very nice, very nice. Okay, cool. Let's check in on Rolando, Puerto Rican Pistolero. What's been up with you since the last time you've been on, Rolando?
Not too much. Things have been picking up. I'm down in South Florida, in case nobody knows. So things have been opening up down here. So traffic is pretty much almost back to normal. Everybody's pretty much doing their thing. Business has been usual. I pretty much work from home. I work in the IT industry, so I go out as clients need me. So I've been going out more, visiting client offices, interacting with people, seeing how different businesses are kind of handling the opening process. But it's starting to feel like it's getting back to normal. I was fortunate enough that my company was able to weather the last 2 months without any issues. So everything's going well in that regard.
Okay. And by the way, here, since it's a little crazy here, I haven't gotten a chance to actually do what I normally do. This is episode 575, not 700 and something, Kevin Dixie. 575. We've got Kevin Dixie, Mychael Walther. We're trying to get him on, and Puerto Rican Pistolero. Just yeah. It's gonna be a little crazy here until we get everyone on here, and we're trying to call you, Mychael. So you got to answer us when we call you, just so we don't hang up on everyone else. That's how we got to work it right now. I don't know where Lola is or if she can hear any of this stuff going on, but we're trying to call through to you. So, all right. So, lots of different things going on, Kevin Dixie.
Yeah, man.
Rolando, lots of different things going on here. I don't know. Should we just jump right in? How do you guys want to do it? It's Friday.
Free for all Friday. Why not?
Yeah, it's Friday. We haven't had Kevin Dixie on here burning everything down. Causing trouble. What?
Do I do that?
No, you don't. You don't actually burn it down, but you do cause trouble.
Well, it's not okay.
Yeah, if you can't come up with a good argument, then there you go.
Yeah. When I get quiet, I lost.
Yeah. Whenever you see, this is the thing. You come on, every time you come on, man, it's something, there's always something going on in the world that you feel very passionate about. And I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming on. I think people do as well. They want to hear from you. You obviously have your own voice and you do your thing out there. So I don't think people have any problem hearing from you. Because even if the internet didn't exist, you would probably create the internet just so you could get your message out there.
Man, I am always starving for adult conversation that is productive, makes the mind think, and we can change the course of this world.
Mm-hmm.
So you could, my thing is, and I know, look, I know I'm an acquired taste. I get it, right? But anyone, and it doesn't make me special. It doesn't make you special or anybody listening special. But you can't create change if you're not communicating and working. You have to be able to do both. And I just wanted to make sure people understood what I thought, how I thought. If it's helped people locally, maybe we can help other people when I share it. And, you know, it's worked. Passion is something that I think a lot of people confuse with anger, and it's not necessarily the same thing. But when we look at everything that we do, even when you look at, and not saying everybody here is only a two-way person, your fathers, your mothers, your et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you look at the things that we care about. But when it comes down to 2A, or even being a parent, tell me that you don't feel emotional about what you love. Like, you absolutely do. And the example I give to people all the time is like, hey, you know, just be factual, not emotional. You can do both. It doesn't mean your emotions should run out of control. Don't get me wrong. You have to be able to control yourself. However, you think about when, let's say, the latest gun control bill is on the books, and they're trying to get this thing pushed through. People that care about and understand the history of this country will start immediately yelling and like, yo, no, that's not okay. But they can also at the same time factually cite to you why it is a wrong thing to do. So you can have both, right? And I think that sometimes people think emotions voids intelligence, and that is not true.
Okay. All right. No, okay, I understand what you're saying. Did you want to chime in on that, Rolando?
No, I totally agree with Kevin, because I mean, you like you said, you can have a passion for something that just means that you're in it and you want to be involved in it, and it really affects you. I know that there's definitely a ton of things that I feel emotional about that get me heated, but there are some of those things are truths. You know, the truth doesn't always line up with the way that you want it to be. So it can make you emotional, but you still have to face it at the end of the day. That doesn't mean you're going to feel good about it.
Okay. All right. I understand where everyone's coming from. I think, I think that's what drives us as human beings ultimately. Right?
Yep.
This is the fuel that we all live off of. Okay, so let me ask you guys this. Obviously, there's a lot of things. I'm sure people are assuming what Kevin's going to want to talk about. Maybe what, myself or Rolando want to talk about. What's on top of you guys' minds right now? Obviously, there's a ton of things going on in the world, stuff going on in America, right? What's on top of your mind right now?
Go ahead, Rolando.
Well, it's definitely what's been going on in Minneapolis with George Floyd and his murder. I think that really goes without saying. I've been watching KD this week really talk about it, and I don't think that there's anything that I can say that he has not really explained and verbalized that we can feel, especially the emotion behind it. And again, that's where the facts and the emotions, you can feel both things. So this is really a situation that it saddened me, not only because of his murder, but really the reactions that we've seen from not just the Second Amendment community, but the same things that we always see from the media, the politicians, and people trying to take advantage of what's a tragic situation, and really muddying the waters with everything like that. And I think that's really what makes things very painful in this situation, seeing all of that more than anything else, at least for me. And I know my wife, she's been really bothered by this as well. So,
okay. What's the thing that bothers you guys the most? Like, what is it? Is it looking at that video? What is it that bothers you? Is it reaction from people around you or people at work? Like, I'm just trying to, figure out exactly what it is. What's the button that gets pushed there?
Rondo, you can keep going.
Oh, well, okay. Obviously, when I first saw it, I felt anger and rage to see, an American citizen just being murdered by an enemy of the state, and seeing his, fellow officers basically they were turning a blind eye. And, while this man is pleading for his life, his life is, he's losing his life there. He calls out for his mother, which for a grown man to do is that's just something that hits you, especially as another man. You always know that, in your time of need, you do call out for your mother. KD's talked about that, and that's just something that really, that's the first thing that hit me emotionally. And then obviously either the crowd not being able to do anything or not doing anything. But, never being witness to that, I don't know. I really would like to think that I would have helped, but you never know when you're there. And then obviously everything that's happened afterwards is just exacerbated things.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, I think Michael's. Let me see. I think we got him. Let's see if
Yep.
we can. Yeah, it looks like we got him here. I'll throw us all into the mix. What's up, Michael?
Hey, what's going on, man? Sorry for the confusion. I don't know what was going on with this
It's all
connection.
good.
Was like,
It's all
Hopefully
good.
you can
Okay,
hear-
that huge window behind you is gonna kind of mess up the light. I don't know if there's any way to either throw some more light on your face. Okay, so while he's getting set up here, the reason why I'm trying to figure out exactly why, I don't want to speak for Kevin. Really, we've had these conversations before, Kevin, right? And we're a little bit older than these two gentlemen that are here. So I'm just really trying to figure out how people coming into the space that we're in right now as gun guys are looking at this thing. How are younger people looking at this, and how is it going through their brain? Is it the same thing as us? Is it different? Are we jaded, Kevin, because we've been here before? Exactly how does it feel when you look at it from a generational point of view?
All right, you want to let Mike answer that? From
Yeah,
the younger
yeah, Mike.
man
If you wanna chime in, we're talking about obviously what
George
a lot of people are talking about nowadays. George Floyd, the murder of him by the police officer in Minneapolis, as well as all the riots and everything going on. I mean, there's other riots going on around the country right now. We had that
Sure.
paramedic as well that they did a no-knock raid on her place. And I really want to figure this out. From my point of view, I could see lots of most gun people are not happy with this. But I want to know how the younger gun folks out there feel about it before Kevin and I jump in.
Well, from my generation point of view, we talked about this before. I feel like my way of thinking is a little bit different, but I try to keep, personally, I try to keep a lot of that energy. I don't try to take in too much of that because I feel like it's a bad thing. But looking at that and looking at everything else that's going around and just in the country right now, it's definitely hard, and it definitely makes us think. Just as young folks, it makes us think twice about even just how you deal with police and your interactions with law enforcement and anyone of authority to you. It definitely makes us look at them differently, but it's hard. I think I'm kind of biased because I grew up around so many police officers and things like that in my family. But even in that case, I feel like what happened to George, I just think it's just terrible, man. It's that was definitely murder, flat out. I was watching KD's live video a few days ago, and he kind of broke down, and even on the other end, I kind of broke down, man, because he kind of hit on all those points. It's terrible, man.
Does it is it compounded for you because so many police officers? Does that make it more difficult? And the people who are in your family that are police officers, have you communicated with any of them about this?
Oh yeah, those are the first people I actually talk to because they look at it, and even my family, because it doesn't matter. Even them, they agree that's murder. That was wrong. It was flat out wrong. I feel like it was so many different things. I like to get their point of view. One, because for one, they're African American, almost 90% of them, and two, they're police officers. So and they have that job, and their job is hard. But even them, they felt like it's so many protocols that they have and so many different rules and regulations and things they have to go by as police officers, and it was so many rules that were broken and so many things that he could have done differently because it is his job to protect and serve the community. I feel like he did not have the protection. The protection part went completely out his window. I would say almost 80% of officers. Now, speaking to a lot of my relatives that are in law enforcement and friends that are in law enforcement, they told me that they feel like almost 85% of law enforcement officers in that community, for one, they don't even live there a lot of times, but they feel like they're disconnected with the community. 85%. of officers almost feel like they're disconnected with the community, that is the problem, because their job is to protect and serve the community. And I feel like in this time, in this generation, and what's going on right now, they lost that.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of, and anyone could feel free to jump in here. The protect and serve part of it, as we all know, and I'm sure lots of people out there are thinking, that's kind of like a urban legend or a myth, right? They don't really have an obligation to protect and serve, so we kind of have to ask, like, what actually is the job going on here? But the part that I just want to get into this, a lot of times when things happen, people like this, when something happens and it's related to police officers, a lot of people tend to think that most police officers looking at that don't care about that. And I'm just going to say I don't really think that's true. I've been through some things myself. I've seen lots of things. I talk to police officers all the time. We have them come on here. They look at that and they get just as mad as we do, for the most part. Yeah. You know, even though we have some clearly bad actors out there, and even a lot of times I think other officers know when there's bad apples among them, right? I don't know, yeah. Kevin, you've been in law enforcement. What do you think about that?
So, to your immediate point, yeah, you know, here's where I'm going to be extremely fair, because we have to be in these conversations. Yeah. The job is what the job is. And can you always help who went through your academy class with you? Can you help who you get assigned to? Can you help who you work with? You cannot. All those things are out of your control. And can you, and most of the other individuals that are getting in those cars every day, have the best intention? Yes. Might you still make a mistake even with the best intentions? I think we all do. I think that's a human thing. But when you absolutely have evil, murderous people that just tend to hide behind a job of service, we have to still be able to call those people out. And I believe where the good officers, the ones that actually show up and want to do a good job, catch slack at is you allow that to happen. And this is a prime example of that, right? So when you look at everybody that's held to a high regard with people, look at priests, right? Priests that actually did, and I don't mean just making fun and jokes about, you know, all Catholic priests, but the priests that did when all that was coming out, I mean, that's horrible, because you took a position of power and a position of trust and you violated people. That's a little bit different than if me and Mychael walking down the street, or me and Rolando walking down the street, and we get into a fist fight. Like, we don't have an obligation to each other immediately, right? Like, that's a little bit different than when somebody of an authority figure actually takes advantage of their position of power that they should guide properly. And so with that, when people say, well, the good cops, you know, the good cops aren't there to stop it. Well, let's take this situation for an example. Many people haven't seen the photo that actually showed that it was 3 police officers on top of George Floyd. You had the one on the neck, one right around his lower back, and one on his legs. And he was in handcuffs. Here's the thing, and I said this on my live, if I'm being totally honest, my job was to deal with detainees. That is what I did. I went hands-on more times than I can count. I guarantee you I went hands-on more time than your average patrol officer. Flat out. I went hands-on. Can you get upset in your course of duty? And even when I was working in the public sphere, arresting people, can you get upset in the course of your duty, your job? Yes. It is a human thing. You can get upset. Let me be very honest. You can only be so many MFers. You can only hear, I'm going to kill you so many times. Yeah, sometimes you have a bad day and you react. But here's the thing. If I'm ever in a situation where I'm on top of somebody who's under control and I'm going overboard, my coworkers are tapping me saying that's enough. My coworkers are grabbing me saying that's enough. You know, same thing with them. If I see, because my job is not just to protect the public, even though that should be what I'm out there to do first, I also need to protect you from yourself. Yo, man, we're done. That's enough. Stop it. Get off his neck. Don't hit him again, whatever the situation may be.
Isn't that the point of a team?
Exactly.
Isn't this why you have a team?
Team members should be strong.
Right.
It's, you know, different. And I tell people all the time, man, look, if I get somebody coming in and they like, I'm on so many MFers and they lay hands on me, I'm probably going to black out and go ham on them, right? Although I know what I'm doing. But if you see me as a team member, if you go, All right, the dude's under control, and Kevin's still going. I expect for you to come over, grab me by the collar, hell, put me in a chokehold, grab me by my leg, whisper in my ear, whatever you think needs to be done to make sure I don't go overboard. That's just realistic. People don't want to believe that, oh, well, you know, hey, you're not supposed to have a bad day. BS. You will absolutely.
Or some people see those kinds of things as disrespect or something like that, right? Like it's disrespectful or something. But no, I mean, in these types of situations, hey, if that's what it takes to wake that person up, you know, if they're inside of something that they just can't get out of on their own, hey, if it takes disrespect to get you out of it, then that's what it has to be. Because once we go here, once you take someone's life, you can't give it back.
Get it back. And people always, and I get it because guns are a thing, but people always think the only way to kill an individual is with a weapon that's not naturally attached to your body. You can absolutely kill a person with your hands. Yeah, that is absolutely possible, right? Yeah. So when you're, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but when you are going down that avenue and you are constantly becoming out of control. I mean, we got several minutes where you're doing the wrong thing. We got the little fellow Tao just standing there, you know, basically assisting in a murder, preventing people from getting over there, stopping them. When the crowd had that one small moment where you can tell they were all kind of coming forward, and that's when Shelby yanked out his mace. The guy that was on his neck yanked out his mace, and then the crowd immediately stood back because from their position, if they do something, they're probably going to get shot. That's probably what they're thinking, right? So you can't win for losing, but when you got three other people that were sworn to protect that are in immediate area, and they still allow that man to be murdered in front of them, tell me how the community at large is going to trust what good cop. If I get you by yourself, yeah. But if the bad cop shows up, if you are taking the back seat to him, then brother, you're no help. You're absolutely no help. Yeah. And then to find out that these two actually had a potential personal relationship makes it even worse. Yeah. So by the way, if you're watching this, if for folks out there on the chat, you know, we appreciate you guys. Smash the thumbs ups and everything here. We'll get some comments and everything in. You know, there's so much to talk about on this thing. We're gonna try to cover it. So yeah, I did see something out there that these guys work together at like private security somewhere. Is that true, or is that, have we verified that? It's called secondary, right?
Okay.
So secondary work is, hey, your local auto parts store, your local grocery store, gas station needs some security help. A lot of security companies will hire police officers off duty to work these contracts. In some places, if they have the right insurance, can hire you directly, right? So apparently, George was, and it was a restaurant / lounge or something of that nature. George was a security officer at that location, and Derek Chauvin was also a security officer, but he was an off-duty police officer. Okay. So Derek worked outside. He worked the exterior perimeter, and then apparently Floyd worked on the inside.
Okay, so but did they know each other?
Right, they knew each other.
They knew each other. Okay, so how could you? I mean, I don't really understand this, man. I couldn't do something like this to a human being. I couldn't do it to an animal, you know? How could you step on the neck of a person for over 8 minutes that you know? I mean, how could you do it to someone you don't know? And then how do you do it to a person who you know?
Depends on what I'm not excusing it, but I guess it depends on what the relationship is. But just because they knew each other don't mean it was positive.
Right. So there could be deeper things to these guys' relationship we didn't know. Now I know that they did press charges against this police officer within the last few hours, right?
Yes. Yeah, they hit him with manslaughter and M3 murder 3 and manslaughter, and they said they got other pending charges.
What do you guys think about the reaction of the authorities in Minnesota? Let's put it that way. What do you think about their reaction to this? Are you happy with that? Not happy? You know.
To be honest with you, I'll speak on this a little bit. To be honest with you, as far as the police officers and things like that, as far as their reaction towards, you know, what happened to him.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about the police officers who were there, but after this.
After the arrest and the things that they went, I think they did very well. I would say that. As far as in them, because they immediately fired this man. They didn't him. Typically, what we see, the youth and everything that's been going on right now, as far as prior shootings and things like that with young black men and black men in general, they get on like death duty, light duty, and they get paid leave. This man was immediately fired. Not just him, I believe. And mind you, there's things I could not know, so don't quote me because I kind of cut it out because I try not to put too much of that stuff into my brain. So, from what I do know, they fired not just him, but the other officers that was around him.
I think this particular guy had a disciplinary record as well, right, Kevin?
Yeah,
in other words, he had issues.
Yeah, well, from last time I read, a total of 18 complaints.
Yeah.
Use of force, and he apparently shot and killed somebody. I think in 2009 or
2006. See that in 2000.
Yeah.
He shot another black man, I believe. That's kind of when I cut it out. I did see that. But as far as the way they handled it, I mean, immediately firing not just him, but everybody else that was around him, from what I know. And then, actually, taking a step forward and pressing charges on this man also within days. I think that's actually pretty good. I mean, charges doesn't mean anything. Convictions is what counts. We all know that.
And it's how you go about it too. Like it seemed to me like they wanted to make sure that they were doing the right process because they didn't want to get this case thrown out because they rushed it necessarily, right?
Yeah. I do believe that as far as the steps that they're taking, as far as that police department, I feel like they're moving in the right direction. I haven't seen anything that was bad. I mean, I understand as far as I'm not condoning and I'm not trying to tell my young people to go out there and be looting and doing all this nonsense, because you mix a lot of bad things with that. You mix the gang members, you mix the people that's just the criminals. Because they're out there.
Antifa, I think, is getting in the middle of that, from what we're hearing, right? We've got militant factions of Antifa getting involved there. I mean, who really wants to destroy their neighborhoods? Who wants to destroy their own neighborhoods?
That goes missed. From even being look, I am literally 7 minutes from Ferguson right now, and I can tell you from seeing it. It wasn't just the people that live in the community that was doing this stuff. It wasn't. It flat out was not. Tons of cars, out-of-state plates, people. I mean, you don't know everybody in your area. Don't get me wrong, but you don't even sound like you're from here. Like you are not from here, right? We don't even wear those type of jeans. And why are you talking like that? And who cuts hair like that? You are not from here, right? Like we just absolutely know you're not. So today there was a video that actually came out. Well, I saw it today, and it was you saw, I believe it was the state police in the background. You saw a decent portion of black men standing out, and then you saw a crowd of kind of a half a crowd of white guys, and they were identified as Antifa. And what the black guy was saying to him is like, "Yo, we appreciate your support, and we appreciate you being out here with us. Do not take us the wrong way. Thank you for helping, get justice served. Thank you for coming and taking part of the protest. But what you are not going to do is continue to cause havoc, because we have to leave here when you go home." And he was saying that on video. So that is another piece of clarification that is not the people that necessarily live in the area. So when we're telling people to stop looting and stop rioting, well, I broke down all the economic effects of that, because look, Ferguson, in one apartment complex alone, that is one of the largest ones over there, immediately after, they lost 40% of the residents. Yeah, that is 40%. That's a lot of damn people out of one of the largest apartment complexes. 40%. Yeah. So it's going to be a lot of economic effects. But this isn't the community that is acting wild and always acting out. And you saw that guy today on video. Like, you need to stop, because we still have to leave here when you go home. Yeah.
And think about this. And Ro, I know you probably you've got some things, but just think about this. You destroy the businesses in your own community, you're making it more difficult for anyone to come into your community and serve you. Okay? Their insurance goes up. They've got to somehow rebuild. The employees who work there now are traumatized by all of that. Just think about that. If you're the people coming into that community and doing that, I don't know, man. That's extra shame on you for that, right? But if you're the person in that community destroying your own community, this doesn't help. There are mechanisms, there are things that you could do. And we're talking about, in this case at least, this is a community that's run, by Democrats. And there's lots of people of color in positions of power to do something about this and fix this problem in your community, you need to let that process take place at least before you get crazy.
Let me say this, and then I'll be quiet. But I really, really make sure people understand this. So yes, look, I've been talking and discussing civil rights for a long time. All right, and being able to do that requires some studying. Not saying I've read every book and studied every person, but I've done a fair share. And Martin Luther King once said, "Rioting is the language of the unheard." All right. He also, in that same conversation, went on to say it is not what we want, but it will continue to reoccur. But it is not something he necessarily condones. He just understands it, right? And so what I want people to realize is that, yes, we get protest. I don't think anybody's arguing protesting in its purest form. Get that, because we all want to see change. Everybody that cares about it, we all want to see change. Might some things be destroyed during the course of a protest? Sure, that might happen. But when you get to all-out looting and rioting, and there's two different ways to look at this. You talk about the economic thing, and I broke it down a while ago. However, when you look at individuals that are committing these atrocities, what are they really contributing to the legacy of George? Right? You're actually taking attention away from them, because all we're talking about now is the rioting and the looting. That's all we're talking about. Right? The news isn't really covering until today, when the charges were announced. Half the people weren't even talking about why they were there. So I'm not saying you shouldn't be pissed. You should be. I'm not saying you can't be upset. I'm not saying you shouldn't force their hand to drive change. But at the same time, stealing a TV does what for George? I mean, really, what does it do? Stealing a TV does nothing for him. It absolutely serves none. But then there's the flip side of it. There's the absolute flip side of it. And I think this is where Second Amendment people get themselves in trouble. It is okay if you're around the barbecue or the bonfire talking to your boys and you say something like, man, those people need to be shot. You know, you might be saying that out of a little bit of frustration. You don't really mean it. You know, you're just talking to your boys. But when you have a sitting United States president that says you loot and we'll shoot, well, that's a problem. Right? It's a problem for several reasons. One, looting is defined as something that is damaging and taking of property. Right? Now, a lot of people were like, well, what do you think you should do if somebody is looting your store? Well, guys, let me slow you down. This is why I need people that carry guns to be intellectuals. That's also very important. If your business is empty, somebody runs into your candy store and they steal all your candy and they're running out, and you shoot them in the back as they're running away, or shoot them in the side as they're running away, or hell, shoot them in the face with a handful of candy because you're pissed and because Trump said looters will be shot. Let me explain something to you. You are going to prison, right? Because you allowed your emotions to take over.
Yeah. So what was the exact? I'm sorry, Kev. Just to be clear, what was the exact thing that he said in his tweet? Was it "you loot, we shoot," or "looting leads to shooting"? I'm just trying to.
I'll go back to my G and I will read it to you.
I'm not arguing the fact that Trump says stupid stuff.
No. We should definitely have exact language.
Yeah,
I'm totally with that.
Yeah.
These thugs are dishonoring the memory of George Floyd, and I won't let that happen. Just spoke to Governor Tim Walz and told him that the military is with him all the way. Any difficulty and we will assume control. But when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Thank you, with an exclamation point.
Okay.
So, here's the problem when people see that. They're like, damn right, looters need to be shot. All right, cool. I feel your emotional response to that. For the business owners that are physically at their business, they aren't defending the M&Ms or the baseball bats. They're inside the business. If somebody is trying to forcefully enter your business to loot your store, you are defending a human life that is inside of that business. You are never defending property. That's not what we do. You don't shoot people over property. What you can say is, I defended myself because these individuals were trying to gain access to me, gain access to this property, and I'm here. And I defended myself. Don't allow your emotions to land you in prison. That's not the way we operate. That's not the way. Yeah, I get it. You're just pissing, you're just talking. But listening to 45 is going to get your ass in trouble. You start shooting people because they stealing TVs, you're going to go to prison. Yeah. And guess what? The business owners are going to lose their business. They're going to lose all their money because they're probably going to get civilly sued by the looter's family as well. Mm-hmm. So they're going to lose all their money. Mm-hmm. They're going to also lose their freedom. All for what? Because you allowed emotions, and because 45 is sitting in his ivory tower telling you, yeah, I'm going to authorize people being shot. Guess what? Joe Biden also said just blast a double-barrel shotgun off the back porch and they'll run away. And as soon as somebody did that shit, guess what? He went to jail.
Yeah. Yeah, right? For sure. For sure. Like there's a, you know, you cannot put property, right? Whatever content's in your store over a human life. Okay? It's, you know, now if, like you said, if it's your life or the people who are in your store, if you have to defend someone, this is a different thing. Let's let Rolando chime in here. Obviously, listen, Rolando, you know, you're gonna have to, you know, you're gonna have to jump in here, especially when Kevin Dixie's smoking. Obviously,
he's the master.
Yeah,
so
you gotta jump in,
speak, especially on a roll.
Yeah, what do you think about? What do you think specifically here about what the tweet from Trump?
Well, man, that's Trump always finds a way to just put his foot in his mouth when it comes to a lot of things, and this is no different.
This is the guy who said, "Forget about what was it? Forget about due process."
Yeah, due process. Take the guns first, due process second.
Yeah.
So we know that this is what he does. But the issue is that when you're in such a heat, it's one thing for him to say something stupid when he's having a normal news day and he's fighting against the Democrats over, you know, whatever the news of the day is, you know, that somebody's trying to talk crap. But when people's lives are at stake, when a city is burning, when you're dealing with obviously an ongoing case, to start injecting yourself into that and to start, you know, escalating the language in that manner, it doesn't help the situation. And I know where he was probably coming from, and I know how a lot of this community is with the thin blue line and law and order and all that. So I know that was the audience that he was pandering to, but he's the president of everybody. Mm-hmm. So you can't pander to a specific audience when things are going on, lives are at stake with everybody that's involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let me just give this to you here for a second so we can get the audience involved here a little bit. And you know, Rolando, you could take this. I know Kevin, Mychael, either one. I don't have to tell Kevin to jump in, but I'm just saying. I carry my revolver in single action says, what if you see someone raiding your house and taking all your guns? Would you let them?
Well, common sense will tell you. Hold on, Katie. Let me say something really quick, brother. Man, common sense, man. Come on, dude. Like, if somebody comes, I'm assuming everyone here and on this live, because I know every single one, especially Katie and I know Hank and you guys. If somebody's coming to your house, I mean, common sense, you're gonna shoot them if they're taking your guns. Mm-hmm. If you have one, I mean, they're taking all your guns. That's just common sense. But I mean. Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't know, Katie.
That's so this is where I tell people you don't want to get into an intellectual game about judo and applying laws. So understand this: the presentation of a firearm in any situation, especially if you're in the commission of a crime, right, or a confrontation of some sort, the presentation of a firearm is immediate deadly force. Here's why: one, it can be used as a bludgeon, right? So you can strike somebody with it, right? Two, it instills fear. People are naturally fearful of guns. And for the third reason, because a gun is designed to change the integrity, all right, and the structure of things that it is aimed at. Mm-hmm. It shoots bullets, things change when it hits it, all right? Mm-hmm. So in that particular scenario, if somebody is stealing guns, right, they have guns, and they're in a commission of a crime, they have already brought deadly force into the situation. Thus, I can respond with deadly force. Please don't come with something better.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm also the same guy when people, and I saw somebody else ask a question about the rooftop Koreans. Look, let me explain something to you guys. I am the same dude that when the spread of Ferguson, right? We had a guy today in Minneapolis say, oh, now that we're done with the city, we're about to go out to the suburbs. Let's see what y'all do, right? That happened here. That they did that, right? And when it actually came in my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say in my neighborhood, I mean on my damn street. All right? Guess what I did? I went outside, no bullshit, full kit, slung rifle, 7 mags for it, a fully loaded handgun with 4 extra magazines.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what happened? 6 cars got loaded back up and they left. Don't play me for smart. Don't play me for a bitch. What I am telling you is it is a way to apply everything you do. Did I start lighting them up because they were jumping in my neighbor's yards? No. Why? Because for all I know, they're going there stealing hubcaps off people's cars. They can't be shot over property. Mm-hmm. I don't hate criminals more than I love my freedom. Mm-hmm. I just don't. Mm-hmm. I just don't. Mm-hmm. Right? I can despise the sin, but I don't hate you more than I love me.
Kevin, it's called nuance. It's called nuance. We are capable of higher thinking. Right. Well, go ahead, Ro. Let's let Ro get in here because I've got another comment that we're gonna get an opportunity to talk about. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've always been taught you got to do what's tactically sound. So you're in your house and your car is outside getting broken into. You have to think to yourself, am I gonna go out there? First of all, I don't know how many dudes are out there. Second of all, I don't know if one dude's trying to jack my car so that the other guy can go through the back door. So if I go confront this other guy, first of all, there may be more than one. So even if I go out with an AR-15, I don't know. I'm walking into an unknown situation. And then I also leave my family members inside the house who I'm supposed to protect as well, vulnerable because as a defender, I have left them in there. Mm-hmm. Now, my wife, she can defend herself, but still, it's better to have 2 guns than 1. So it's better to stay where you're tactically sound and not inject yourself in the situation unless you must. Because you don't know what you're walking into.
Yeah, right. Okay. And let me get this other comment in here. Razor JB says the definition of looting and what's going on isn't totally the same. Still doesn't mean shoot anyone, but when they're throwing flaming bottles in the business with looting, critical thinking is a must.
Yeah, good point.
Throw a bomb at me and see what I do.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a weapon. I mean, KD was something just a gun, but if you throw it, I did see this on the news. A gentleman had but he had a man had a alcohol bottle, lit it on fire. Mm-hmm. That's excuse my language. That's a goddamn bomb, man. Like you hit somebody with that, you can do serious damage. I mean, in that case, I see people actually open carrying their firearms and stuff like that. In that case, you do have to. I believe you have to take fire in self-defense. I mean, that is a self-defense situation. You don't need a gun to actually take a shot. To stop. Bad.
And just to illustrate something, like I haven't seen all the footage here, but I know there's been footage running on news reports, right, of the protesters going after police cars. Mm-hmm. Right now, I know some people. These things have. I think how many people have? There's at least one or two people that have died in this, right? At least one.
Last time I heard, one person died. It could be 2, but the last time I heard, 1 person.
Yeah,
I don't know how. I just know 1 person.
Yeah,
died.
So let's just look at what happens with the police cars. That they're going after police cars, which these guys are armed. They've got weapons in there. They're trying to move away from people, right? And these guys are smashing police cars and doing all that kind of stuff. They could be well within their rights to get out and get into a firefight with people, but they're choosing to get the hell out of there, right?
I mean, if I throw a brick at your head and you have a gun, will you defend yourself against me?
Yeah,
absolutely. You should.
Yeah.
So if I think the problem is that when you see, and let's just say these are some of the patient good cops that are in the cars, right? Mm-hmm. And when we see people throwing bricks and all kind of crap through those windows, they can respond if they they will be justifiably responding, right? Now their command staff might be giving them different orders, right? But by the law, they will be totally okay. There was even a situation in LA where one of the guys on the highway they were standing around a patrol car. The officers slowly accelerated to get away because they were busting his windows and trying to get into the car. And a guy flipped off the car and I think he hit his head and went unconscious.
Yeah.
The second squad car behind him pulled up. And you could tell he pulled up and angled his car. He wanted to get out and check on the guy.
Yeah, they wanted to help him. Then they started smashing that guy up.
They didn't get out and shooting. Mm-hmm. They drove off. Look, guys, here's the real thing. You got to separate. This is when you separate what you would do in your emotions and talking to your boys away from real life. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you are looking for more reasons to shoot people than not, you're doing it wrong. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
This is not. And if you think that, okay, start shooting looters. Now people throwing Molotov cocktails. Not that. Now I ain't talking about that stuff. I'm talking about, let's go to the TV candy bar guy, right? You shoot them in that city and then see what those Democratic leaders do. See what kind of gun control starts coming up. See them, right? You just can't, if you're finding reasons to go out and shooting people, you're being silly. And this is even you can look at some of the most tactically trained dudes in the world. Many of them I talk to on a regular basis that have been in actual war zones. You know how many times they didn't depress the trigger?
Yeah. Well, listen.
Like, come on. You gotta be a little smart.
So look, we all know this. We all know this is a lot of bravado amongst men. This is something I could say clearly is a very man thing, right? There's a lot of bravado amongst us. In the gun community, there's bravado. But there's talk, and then there's reality. You know?
Exactly.
Now, there might be some issues. I think sometimes we cross these little weird issues when, you know, if something happens, let's say something like in this situation happens to a black guy, and there's some other people looking at it and like, oh, you know, this is not how I would react to that. But you guys are all caught up in your feelings because it's a black guy. No, I think that we are past that. This is 2020 that we're in, and we could be more nuanced, right? We could be more nuanced than this. Like, we get this. When I looked at what was going on in Michigan with those guys going armed into their state house, I wasn't upset by that. You know, and there were people like, oh, we got to stop this. We got to put a stop to these guys being able to do that. No, I didn't say, hey, we should put a stop to that. That's what this is all about. I'm pretty sure I saw on you, I think it was you, Kevin. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but there were some black guys that are armed protecting stores and things like that, right?
Yeah, I put that in today. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. They're standing outside the businesses owned.
Yeah. So the thing is, there's a balance. We're looking at this in a balanced way. For example, not only black people are upset by this thing.
No.
You know, now I saw on social media, I saw that there were some people not in our community, but, you know, other social media comes across my radar. And there are other people of color that are mad at their white friends if they feel like they're not responding to this thing. And I'm thinking to myself, are you even plugged into what's going on? It's not just black people upset about that, right? This thing happens in all different facets to everyone, but sometimes we take it as like it gets personal, right? It gets personal. Mm-hmm. Sometimes if we see someone that looks like us, we get more upset. Sometimes if it doesn't look like you, you're less upset. But honestly, at the end of the day, you have to try to be more nuanced than this and understand what like freedom really means. You know, and one of the things I could say to illustrate this, and it always happens, you guys could tell me whether or not this has happened to you. People say, well, why is he resisting? You know, when this happens, what's the matter with you? Why do you got to resist something? And I get that, and I understand that. I've been through my own situations. But I know how other people that I have as friends, how they react if they get pulled over by police officers or someone tries to push them around. So to say that, okay, well, you know, maybe you just shouldn't resist to me, it's not a valid thing. You guys could tell me what you think. I don't think you should try to get into a fight with a police officer or anything like that, but there's nothing wrong with asking questions. And if we live in a world where the person who looks like me can't ask questions or get or say anything to someone, but someone else could do it, that's where we have a problem. That's the crux of a problem here, that a lot of people are trying to get folks out there to understand that this happens, right or wrong.
I agree. We definitely have to stand up for ourselves and speak. I feel like that's I would definitely say that's a problem. I feel like, especially with the youth and just the black community in general, just because we were taught to fear, you know, the police, you know, even growing up, you know what I'm saying? And my situation may be slightly different, but even then, a lot of my friends, you know, and I try to educate them, you know, they were taught in their household, you know, when you see police, try to, you know, shut up and listen. Mm-hmm. Don't say nothing. Yes, sir. No, sir. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Mm-hmm. I personally, I really don't agree with that. I feel like I was taught differently. I'll talk, speak up for myself. Something's not right. It's not right. Understanding and that's just a lack of knowledge also, not knowing your rights. You'd be surprised how many African Americans, even in that I sell firearms to, who come here didn't even know they can even own a gun in this state.
Yeah.
I mean, that's besides the point, but still, not knowing your rights, it's bad. Just education.
You got to balance it. I mean, I remember when so obviously I have a video out of when I got pulled over, right?
Yeah, I watched that like 2 times.
When a lot of my white, so this is to like really bring home the point I'm trying to make to you guys. When a lot of my friends who are white, even white police officers saw that, they were like, why the hell did you let these guys do that? What was up with this? Why don't you, and I'm trying to say, like, listen, I understand what my rights are. If you listen to that, you can hear me saying things to them, but still trying to walk that line of not pushing this over the line, and this is a thing. Like, we are living in a thing. Like, if I have to be super extra careful, but if you're in that position, you're gonna be like, hey, what the hell's wrong with you guys? Then there's a problem. There's ultimately a problem, right?
Yeah. And in that situation, I watched that video. Like I said, I watched it 10 times. I mean, that video, I do think your situation was slightly different because there was already 2 guns. There was already, well, I say 2 guns, but there was already a gun on this side being in your hand, in your possession. There was already 2 guns in the, equation at that point. So it's kind of like when there's guns involved, you kind of got to, at that point for both people, even yourself, even the officer, you kind of got to, everybody got to chill down, put those egos aside, because that can be a very dangerous situation. I mean, yours was just very, from what I remember, it was very intense, very fast. It kind of like, it was a lot of steps and things like that. I felt like the officer, just like bypassed. So, I mean, I felt like you did the right thing, but even in that situation, I do feel like you stood up for yourself and you asked a lot of questions. You just didn't, just give in, But
we have to. The point I'm trying to make about it is we kind of have to walk the line. Now, if you have to walk the line, if one person doesn't have to walk the line and then another person has to walk the line, there's obviously a problem, right?
Right.
There's an issue. There's an issue. So when I see people in like the gun community, for example, getting mad because like we're talking about it, I'm like, listen, we're all the same. We're all Americans. There's no color.
Yeah.
That is the dream that Martin Luther King had and died for. It doesn't exist yet.
No.
Okay? We want it to be like that. We're working for it to be like that. It's not exactly like that. Hey, I'm not mad about it. I'm the person who lived through that, and I get it from people who I know that, like I said, there's white people who are mad when they see, like, well, you don't have to let those guys talk to you. So there's an issue here, and we have to work through that. But we all have to think about what's going on and try to be nuanced about it. So when people say, like, hey, maybe this guy shouldn't have resisted or he shouldn't have been, I don't know whether or not, you guys will have to tell me whether or not he actually had anything in his system. I'm not sure. Kevin, did he have anything?
I mean, even if he did,
I don't think we've gotten the medical coroner's report yet.
Yeah. So I mean, and what he did was, I think they were saying he tried to pass like a fake bill or something like that.
Yeah.
Fake $20 bill, and the last time I heard the bill wasn't even fake.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Say, well, you could just avoid. He could have avoided this. No. There's a line that you cross when you're dealing with another human being and you have their life in your hands, okay? And there's lots of people who commit crimes and they don't wind up dead because they committed the crimes. We all look at live PD or whatever. We see people running, people fighting, and people don't die because they do that. That's part of your job as a police officer to deal with that.
Yeah. I think this is the hard pill for a lot of people to swallow. Just because racism doesn't look like it did in the 50s doesn't mean it went away. Period. Now, I think where a lot of people get frustrated is you have certain media outlets, certain famous personalities that seem to drive it in a way like you can't go outside and go get your mail without being shot, right? And they make it so extreme to where it's like, all right, man, if you're on the other end of that, you're digesting that, you're like, dude, really?
Yeah, or
Come on.
I don't know who said, I can't remember who said it. I don't know if it was LeBron, but someone said we're just being hunted every day when.
Yeah, LeBron said we're being hunted every day. And my only response to LeBron, and I like LeBron James. That's like my dude. My response to him is, I'm not, bro. Yeah. I'm not. You know what I mean? And it's and even if I was, guess what? Well, your prey has teeth. Damn it. And we're gonna leave it at that. But
I don't believe. I just, you know what? And I'm sorry, Kevin. I think you're making a good point. I don't want to cut it off, but I don't feel, and you guys could tell me whether you do or you don't. I don't feel like we're being hunted every day.
I don't. Yeah. To me, it's not an issue of hunted. That's what I mean by things can be extrapolated so much that it just makes me tired of hearing it, right? I think on the other side of it, though, because you can have two things can be true, right? Okay. But then because of that frustration or that oversaturation, like especially when people get up there and just say things that are outlandishly, just a bit of a push. At the same time, it does not mean that there aren't factual things that are occurring. Has anybody stopped to think maybe to themselves, why was he so comfortable doing what he was doing on camera? Maybe. Could be a lot of reasons. But can you say that he didn't value the life up under him? Maybe he did or did not value him because he was black. I think people need to stop telling other people how to feel when they have life experiences different than yours. You don't know what it was like for me dealing with cops when I grew up. I've had police officers 3 times point guns at me. 3 times. 3. You know what? They were all black. None of them were white. They were all black. But I'm still able to say firsthand that there are not only black officers who, I'm talking about having personal conversations, will tell you they don't value the black community, period. They will tell you that.
Oh,
right?
For sure.
And there are other people that because they don't understand, they don't have empathy. Because they don't understand, they take everything you do as a sign of aggression. And it's not. It's just the fucking way we talk, man. Calm down. So it's a lot of education to be there, but you can't tell people that there aren't some factual truths to this thing, and stop telling people that systems won't cover up when anybody is murdered, right? But even when black men are murdered, look at Ahmaud Arbery, right? Like, look at that situation. That was horrible. And people want to say, take race out of it. We can have a discussion where I say, I feel it's racist. You say, I don't feel it was racist. But do we both agree it was wrong? As long as we both come to that, I'm cool. It doesn't matter how you feel, how I feel. Do we agree that that man should be alive? So stop telling people that they aren't allowed to have a feeling about something. And this would be the exact same community that then turns around and tells people, well, all gun control is racist. Well, then as soon as I say, well, the white dude that just passed that gun law, like President Trump, I thought all gun control was racist and is a system of the oppressors. Does that make him racist? Everything's not about race, dude. Pick your fucking. And come on, man. Like, let's really be able to have a conversation about that. So I think that if you value your fellow Americans, I get that we're frustrated with the race baiters, like the true race baiter. I get that we're frustrated with those people. I totally get and understand. At the same time, if you trust, and I'm not saying I'm the guy that can call out, I'm not saying that at all. But if you can trust my word, if you agree with me on 80% of the things I say, why would I say that with you denounce me?
Yeah.
How come you can't value my opinion and feelings about that just as much as you value them about gun control is a problem? Everybody needs gun education. Historical lessons when I provide them. When you said earlier, Hank, how about we talk from our generational experience to their generational experience, right? Well, look, man, I can tell you firsthand. Our police chief, right? And I'm using chief because you set a tone. We had a police chief here named Chief Mokwa, Joseph Mokwa. Joseph Mokwa, this was not a rumor. This was factual. Joseph Mokwa was a detective at one time, and Mokwa would jump out, take your dope, right? Which he should have just arrested you for. But he would take your dope, take your money from the dice game, okay? Then charge you percentages off your pack, and will come and collect. He was known for doing that.
And he became the police chief?
Police chief of one of the major metropolitan cities in this country. Well, if you're the chief and you came up through the ranks like that, who's your command staff? Because you get to appoint them. What directives have you given your command staff to flow down to the officers? And then when you toss in something like the 1994 crime bill and all the things it allowed, what government protection do you have to go out and execute these things? So stop telling people that they're not in their right to say, I feel this was about race, and then denounce everything else they say. If you don't feel it was about race, be like, hey man, I might not see it the same way you see it, but I can't agree that American was treated wrong, and move on.
Yeah. Well, and so what about if we're looking at a story in South Africa where the black people are running everything, and they decide to go to a white guy's farm and take his farm from him, and if he resists, they kill him. Is that not about race either?
It is racial.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
We can say that now. The people in South Africa would say it's because you invaded our land and you took our land and we're fighting for it back. Okay. Well, I think that the white people, let's just say, that were just born there, that are just working the land, like, the fuck, I didn't, what's up, man? What'd I do? Yeah, we're gonna take this from you. No, you can't have my land. Well, we're gonna kill you, white boy. Yeah, he can say, I was killed and attacked because of my race. And who would tell him that he wasn't? Right, that'll be a factual truth.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that the people shouldn't necessarily want their land back. No. Doesn't mean that maybe they could go about a better way of getting it back. Sure. Do I agree with the innocent murder of anybody? No. But can I say that, yeah, that's probably driven because of the color of your skin, dude? Because if a black dude on this land, they probably wouldn't have came and took it from him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, unfortunately, not everyone has perspective, man, messes us up, right? Mostly as human beings, we see from our own perspective. We don't get to see from other people's perspective and think about things. And, that's what I'm trying to do with all of this stuff, because I think it's more complicated. And if we really, really, really want to fix anything, we have to look at things that we don't want to look at. And a lot of times, so race is one of these things that most of us, sometimes I don't want to look at it. Sometimes you don't want to look at it. It's just one of these things that no one wants to talk about because it's kind of like a boogeyman and it's scary and you don't want to get in trouble. You don't want to hurt people's feelings whenever you get into it. So therefore, we never fix it.
If I can jump in here, it's always interesting because I'm Puerto Rican, so I come from a Hispanic background. So sometimes, and not only that, because I'm a military brat, my dad was in the Navy. I've lived in different parts of the world and different parts of the country. So I've always seen things. Race has always been really interesting for me because, in Puerto Rico, everybody looks, Hispanic people all look totally different. A lot of people think that Hispanic people are Puerto Rican people. You're brown, you're like more tan skin or whatever. But there's blonde-haired, blue-eyed Puerto Ricans out there. My dad is darker skinned than I am. I've got green eyes. I'm a little lighter complexion. My brother looks a little bit different. So, it's a little bit different from our perspective, especially, Puerto Rico is part of the United States. But when you come to the mainland, you see and you hear about the history of obviously everything that's happened, especially primarily between white and black people. And as a Hispanic, you kind of get both perspectives. It's like on the outside looking in. And, that's what really makes it interesting because sometimes you get co-opted by one side or the other. And I know that's one of the struggles that I've found with that when it's convenient, sometimes one side likes to take you and claim you. Oh, you're Hispanic. We're going to take you today because it's convenient for us. And, we're going to take you there. And then other times it's like, oh, well, you're like a light-skinned Hispanic, so you don't count. So you're there with the white dude. So I've always seen that. So race does mean something to me. I've seen the differences. I've seen how people from any race can use that against you or try to prop you up and say that you're a victim just because you're not white or for whatever reason. Yeah. So it's always crazy. And living around the world, I also see how different countries look at race in totally different perspectives in the United States. But how some of them have the same problems that we do. Like the Asians, they're all racist towards one another. Japanese people, Koreans, and Chinese people, they hate each other. And from our perspective, we would probably say, well, that would be like Europeans hating one another. They're all the same race. How can that be?
Race is a human condition, man.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with that. Sometimes it's just as simple of that dude has stuff that you don't have, and I want to take it from them, and I don't like them because of it.
Yeah. I know this is going to sound real crazy, but it reminds me of an episode of Rick and Morty which I don't know if everyone has seen Rick and Morty, but literally there's these aliens, they're all blue, right? All the aliens are blue. But there's a part of it where they realize that some of them have like extended nipples, you know, and then some of them have like, there's a different kind of nipple that they have, and they have a race war over the nipples. So as ridiculous as that sounds, if that happened to us, if we were all blue, we would find a reason, well, like, this guy has a little white stripe, and he thinks he's better than me. You know, well, I mean, no matter what, this is what we would do to each other because it's our crazy human condition.
Well, look at the fights that people get into over AKs and ARs or 1911s and Glocks. And some people get really pissed off about it.
Yeah.
So if we can get that angry about such trivial things like that, of course, big issues we're going to kill each other about.
Yeah.
So,
but at the end of the day, if we want to make, see, I think what a lot of this has to do is with time. We can't get rid of all the issues that human beings have, but we have time and we can make things better, right? And I think, you know, over time in America, things are getting better. Maybe if you go to some other countries around the world, you'll see that they deal with this in some ways better. No one's got a 100% cure for this. But in time here, we can make these things better if we actually sit down, talk about all of this, figure it out, and then hold each other to the standards, right? But it can't be convenient, right? This is the thing that, like, some people want to flip in and out of this for convenience, you know, and I think that's what's the thing. So now here, I just want to bring it back to the whole conversation, which, Kevin, like I said, we've had this before about, you know, policing in America, right? Let's have that conversation again. With all of this happening, it's not just, it's happening over and over again in America in lots of different ways. What do you guys think is the solution for this? For me, I think a full reset needs to happen. What do you guys think?
Can I say something? And this is a question for Hank, you, and KD, especially KD, just because he was in law enforcement. The blue code. Do you know what I mean as far as the blue code, KD?
Are you talking about the thin blue line?
Brotherhood.
Yeah, okay.
The brotherhood.
It's the same thing as the G code on the street.
It's right. Yep. A lot of them, you saw there was a white man, and then there was the Asian or, you know, gentleman too. Different race, but they all had to stick together because of that G code, the blue code, or the blue line. Talk about that, because that you know, that's kind of a topic where, you know, they all kind of played that role, because if you don't, you kind of feel like the, you know, the outcast. You like, hey, he's not really for us. There was cops that were killed because of, you know, not following that that code. So go ahead and speak about that, because I mean, I feel like, you know, the audience may want to hear it.
Yeah. Who wants to jump in there?
Well, I would say that
it's really for KD and Hank. But go ahead.
Is there a blue code? Yeah, it's called the thin blue line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I was told something today. I wasn't in the room when this was said, but I was told something today that was said by a police commander out of the Seattle, Washington area. I don't even know if he worked for the Metropolitan, but around that area. And they were at a conference, and he said, I love police, and I'm always going to support my officers. So I'm not diminishing their lives. But when people say blue lives matter, they forget the rest of that sentence. And I'm just listening to what somebody's conveying this to me. And he said, you know, everybody in the room was puzzled. Cops, everybody. They're like, what?
Yeah. Is there another part to that sentence?
Yeah, he's like, blue lives matter last. Everybody's like, what? He's like, it doesn't mean that police officers should die. Now, this is a police commander. He's like, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is, when you put on this badge, you are going out to make sure that innocent people make it home safe, even if you don't.
Yeah.
So your life does matter. It just matters last. The only thing is above is a criminal. All right. Unless you get to the point where you have to save the criminal, right? He's now a victim. So in that thinking, that points out a lot, but everybody doesn't share that mindset. Look, every cop that I've seen that has spoken up, I'll never forget, we had this brother that spoke up against the mayor, called the mayor out on some BS. And you know what they did to him? They gave a cop what we call a black hole. They put him on desk duty, right? And he just sat on a desk all day long, greeting people into the police station until he finally left. There have been other cops that have came out and said the right thing, and all of a sudden they had investigations open into them about something totally different, where they had to leave the force. So yeah, it's a code out there. I think that most jobs do have codes of some sort where you have each other's back. And I'm not saying you won't for some of the small stuff. I think the code should expire once you are trampling on the rights of people. That's when you should say, look, man, I got you up until you stick your knee in the back of somebody's neck for 8 minutes.
Exactly.
I got you to that point. Look, if I need to say that you were on this traffic stop with me while you was really over your other baby mama house, I got you. I got you. If I need to cover for you because you ran code through a red light, caused a minor traffic accident, and you know you weren't supposed to be pursuing, but the car got away, nobody was seriously hurt, I got you. I mean, that stuff is real, right? Have your boy back. I'm not saying don't do that.
Right.
But when you get to the point to, hey, yo, I'm going to keep it quiet if you murder somebody, and I'm not going to stop it, you passed. You went too far.
Yeah.
You went too far.
Yeah. So listen, I don't know if you think, like, I've never been in law enforcement. So I've never been in law enforcement, never been in the military. I've interacted with a lot of cops through my life. I grew up in New York City in the crack 80s. You know, I have friends that I went to high school with that became police officers. I have people that I really care about in my family, people I love who are police officers. Lots of people in law enforcement out there in the world support me, you know. But yes, at the end of the day, it's a gang, right? This particular thing you're talking about, it's a gang. Where do these things come from? They come from fear, right? Like, if you get arrested and you're in prison, you got to figure out, are you a skinhead? Do you become Muslim up in there? You know, how exactly do you survive this whole thing? And I think that comes out of that. Because if you're a police officer, you're also kind of like, you know, you're operating under these same circumstances. So that whole brotherhood brings you to this, right? But you are supposed to be, like, you know, there's that old saying, like, there's no honor amongst thieves. Well, if you're a police officer, you need to have some honor, right? You're not, you made a line to stand over here, you know, not over here. You're not a criminal, you're a police officer. You have to have some honor, right? Each of us have to preserve that. So there has to be a point where you realize, like, what side are you playing on and who do you serve over anything else? And part of that is, like, this is what I take from what you were saying, is that police chief was saying that that's our job. Like, we're supposed to put our lives on the line, you know, and our lives are supposed to matter last, right? Am I wrong about my interpretation?
Yeah, he said as long as we are supposed to, your life matters, but not before the people you're supposed to protect.
Exactly. And that's what, I mean, this is what I think it needs to come down to. And so for sure, if these are guys who have to go into a firefight together, like, I get the purpose of brotherhood, right? If you're supposed to be able to go into a firefight and survive together, I get it. There has to be something. You have to have some kind of bond. But you also need to realize where you've crossed over the line and you're now on the other side.
Yeah. And can I add something to that? Mm-hmm. For people that in this kind of time, this question and this tone of the conversation in with the last. Mm-hmm. Look, maybe it's about where I come from. I come from an area that is so racially tense. We actually have 2 police associations in the same damn department. We have a white police officers association and a black police officers association in the same department. Okay. It is crazy. We also had here not too long ago. We had
What if you're biracial in that thing? Well, then what'd you do?
I think you get to pay like half the dues to each. I think it works.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah.
You know, so we actually had here a cop who was trying to interview a suspected drug dealer, a known drug dealer. All right, trying to interview him. The dude did make a mistake. He tried to run the cop over. Right, when he tried to back his car up to get away, almost ran the cop over. Cop is rightfully so very upset about that. Well, the truck that they're in has full video and audio. So they hop in the truck and they start giving chase. And he's in the truck like, and the guy was black, the cop was white. And this is in my own neighborhood. He's like, I'm going to kill this son. When I kill him, I'm going to kill him. Right? You just try to run me over with a car. I'm probably going to be saying all kind of craziness too.
Yeah, adrenaline.
This guy, when the car wipes out, he goes into the back of the vehicle, goes into his personal bag, and pulls out a Draco.
Oh yes, I remember this story. I remember this story. Yeah. Right.
And shoots the dude and kills the dude with the Draco. Then goes back to that same bag where he retrieved the Draco, has something much smaller in his hands that he could cuff with his hand and you couldn't see it. And then all of a sudden, a minute later, the driver of the vehicle popped up with this revolver in his hand. Right?
Yeah.
Because he carried a throwaway gun with him.
Yeah.
After we had riots about that situation a little bit after Mike Brown. There were 4 police officers who were exchanging text messages with each other, saying that they are going to catch one of these protesters and beat the hell out of them before they even got assigned to the riot squad. Saying this in text message. The text messages came up in court. They pulled their phones, got their records, and proved it. In response to Ferguson, we had undercover officers in the crowd of the riot. Right? They put more black officers in the crowd because they can blend in better, right? With the crowd, like what the crowd looks like. These guys, unbeknownst to them, the officers just standing there, they went and grabbed the black dude and beat him mercilessly. They put him in a hospital for several weeks. They beat him that bad.
A police officer.
Not realizing he was an on-duty, undercover police officer. So don't tell me that race don't exist. Don't tell me racism don't exist. These 4 white cops that picked that black dude and beat him mercifully, and the only reason that they beat him, right, besides the color of his skin, was because he was blacking in the wrong spot. They said they premeditated it. They said in text messages, "This is what's going to happen." They got to work. They pulled the black dude out the crowd and beat him. Then tried to say he assaulted them. When they brought him. When he could finally talk, he went through processing the whole 9 yards. He was identified as an on-duty police officer on assignment with that agency at that protest. We had another incident here, right, where a cop was in his home. There was a police chase going through his area. He went out to back up the officers, right? He grabs his gun, runs outside, gets involved in the melee. He is standing still, talking to 2 responding officers. They're like standing and they're talking. He's got a sidearm in his hand down to his side. He's standing having conversation. I guess they're talking about which way they got to go, whatever the case may be. The other car pulls up like a minute and a half, 2 minutes after they've already started their conversation. The white dude gets out the car and shoots him. Shoots him. Stop telling people that there isn't a problem. And at the same time, cops need to stop pretending that there's not a code. There can be 2 truths. Absolutely can be. Why didn't the cops at the scene when he planted the gun on that gentleman say, "Hey, I get he tried to run you over, dude, but we ain't planting no guns." Matter of fact, where the hell you get a Draco from? That's not what you have a sidearm and a long gun issued to you in the car.
I remember that one
Why
now.
are you pulling Dracos out of a bag? We have access to our own weaponry, right? So why didn't they stop him when he drugged that Draco out? Why didn't his partner say, throw that shit down? What you doing? Right? So I wish that people would really open up and realize that yes, we have a problem, and yes, there is a blue code, and yes, we need to address them both. We absolutely do.
Yeah.
And so my thing is, to answer your question about what do we do, honestly, I mean, you can't shut down police work, man. And look, I hate to tell people, but if you don't have cops, man, I give it maybe. I'll be nice and say it takes 2 days for people to figure it out that police no longer exist. To watch what kind of problems you have. Just watch, right? So you absolutely need police work.
Yeah, and I think even if you take these troubled areas and make all the police departments black, you're still gonna have problems.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna have
if you
problems.
have a Latino neighborhood and you make the police officers there only Latino, you're gonna have problems.
Yep.
When you give one human being power over another human being, you're gonna have problems if that human being has no sense of honor and professionalism.
True. We need we need reform, but you know what, man? Just like when times change, I really do think it's time for, you know, people to get together, people that are professional law enforcement, and maybe ask people on the outside to reach out to community leaders and truly start having a conversation of how we can do the job better, right? Like, just how can it be done better? Even if nothing else, you start training people around the fact that, hey, social media is a thing, dude. Like we have to adapt to the times, right?
Yeah.
So it needs to be complete change and complete reform all the way around. Because I think if you're doing a good job, you will be surprised at how much the community will have your back.
Yeah. You know something I think too, man? I think that we don't really have leaders anymore, not political leaders. And I don't think it's just Trump, you know. I've got my problems with Trump, and I have things with Trump that I like. But I think that none of our leaders, not Democrats, not Republicans, not conservatives, not liberals, none of these people are actually leaders, and none of them truly want to make America a better place. I think for the most part, those kinds of people stopped existing back in the 60s. You know, and a lot of what we've got now, so far as political leadership, they don't really want to solve these things. They want to blame other people. They want to get more power out of it. They want to create more fear. They want us to go up against each other more. You know, this is the truth, I think, that I agree with some of the people in our community that are saying, hey, all of this is separating us. I would agree with it here, that we really are not fixing anything. The people who are in the position to do something about this, they're not really fixing things. If we just want to make this so for example about Trump, right? And what we all do, we're all in social media, we all get up on YouTube's or Instagram or whatever, and we know we have problems with social media, right? We know we gave them as a country, as a citizenship, we gave them protections. And they have power now, and they abuse it, and they do all these things. When does Trump decide to do something about it? When it affects him personally. You know, and I think that this is what all these guys are doing, and because of that, they're not really trying to fix anything. So just like in that example, I'm not impressed by what he did, but I'm not impressed with social media either. And I think we'll constantly have that problem because no one's actually trying to fix it. And I think that goes the same for what we're talking about here. That no one really wants to get in there and fix it. We really need like professionals to be in. First of all, the policing is too big to me personally in America. There's too many departments, too many cops, too many tactical units. You know, when the post office has a tactical unit, and this department and the EPA has tactical units and all that kind of stuff, we've got too many people in law enforcement, right? So some of that we need to pull back. We need to better vet people. We need to better train them, better compensate them. We need to monitor what's going on with these people. If people are professionals and they're making a change and a difference, they need to get paid. It's a lot like, you know, we can associate it to teachers for that matter, right? We just need to do something better and make it better, but no one's actually willing to do it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Are we not willing to do it, or is the system not willing to change?
But who's the system? Right.
Well, I get that we're part of the system, but at the same time, this goes back because I don't, you know, I guess I don't know. I don't necessarily. I guess what you just said too. I get your point, but in a lot of areas, they're understaffed with cops, right? So maybe a shift. I don't think that I am totally like why does the
well, I mean, like I live in the country. My personal police department in my county here in Florida, they're not big. It's a handful of guys, you know. And as a matter of fact, a few years ago, someone executed 2 of those guys, right? In a cold-blooded way, and everyone felt that. Now, because they're smaller, in my opinion, they do a better job. You know, also my sheriff is elected,
I can see that.
So he knows all the people in the town. Like, I'm trying to hide out from mofos. Let me put it that way before I start cursing. I try to hide out in my town, but they know me, right? And they've come up, they've talked to me, lots of things. So I'm not saying people don't have issues. They arrest people. They go after the real bad guys in the community, but they know the people in the community. They're trying to serve those people, and they don't have extra time that they need to justify, right? But in other places where the police departments are big and bloated, there's a lot of craziness going on.
Yeah. Well, maybe the answer to your question is exactly what happens with sheriffs, though. They're elected, right? Mm-hmm. So they can lose their job, where police chiefs more so are appointed by the mayors.
Who we elect, though.
Who we elect. Yeah. But the police chief can be protected by the mayor too. So what I'm saying is, if we can't give them an immediate consequence, like a sheriff, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, you know what, dude? You got 2 years left. Let's see if you get this job back. Okay. But if we're dealing with people that aren't being actively in voting and keeping track of all the nuances that go on, so I tell people all the time, man, like, I get that we're going to vote, our way about the way we feel about guns and things like that. And then look, I can absolutely be a one-issue voter. Do not get it twisted, right? But I always look at the bigger picture too. Like, are you holding people responsible when they're allowing it? And I said that the other day. It's not, if you got an issue with the cops, man, let me tell you what, you really ain't got an issue with the street officer. You got an issue with his ultimate boss. Because they're the ones that's saying whether something is okay or not to happen.
Yeah, they're setting the culture in a lot of cases.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what you really got the problem with. You get mad at the guy because he's giving you tickets. Let's knock this down a little bit. All right, damn, I keep going through this area and they got these speed traps, and I don't think that you guys should keep giving me these tickets. Why are you giving me all these tickets? Well, how many tickets did his sergeant say he better write? Because if you don't believe that happens, you're false. Yeah. How many tickets did the sergeant say you better write? How many tickets did the captain or the LT tell the sergeant he better turn in? I better see your guys being active. And where did they come from? Probably from a mayor that says we need more revenue. You know? So you always got to go to the source.
Yeah. Oh, well, I know this is kind of a little bit off the subject, but I think it's still on the policing subject. Did you guys see what happened with the Marine that had a gym in North Carolina? Did you guys look in any of that?
Had a jam? What happened?
What's that
so
one?
Basically, with the whole COVID lockdown going on, there's a white guy. He was a Marine. He has a gym in North Carolina. It's supposed to be locked down, and the sheriffs start rolling up on him trying to write tickets.
Oh, okay? I've seen that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Ryan posted that. Yeah, I seen that.
Yeah, with people just working out. So the police chief of that area was actually against what, like, there was this deputy chief guy who's going around doing. This was supposedly also a Marine, but he was harassing these guys, and the police chief was trying to stop that and pull it back. But what happened was, I guess the governor or something in North Carolina suspended that police chief and put this out of control deputy that in this situation didn't have better things to do than to go around and go after some dudes just trying to work out. Put him in control, and it just got worse. And when I was looking at that whole thing, the thing I kept thinking to myself is, this goes all the way up to the top. This is why I'm saying this, Kevin. It goes exactly to what you're saying. The people in North Carolina that are not happy about that have to go all the way up to the governor and deal with that situation. Why did you do that? You had the police chief that was in there was doing the right thing. And this is how things can really get bad because you made it that way.
Look at the cop that was fired. I know we all seen him. I forget his name. I believe he was fired in the Seattle area, the one that was speaking out against violating Americans' rights because of COVID.
Yeah.
That was the governor that called down on him? It was the governor.
This was Seattle, right? This was Okay, yeah.
It was the governor that started putting pressure down the pipeline to get him relieved of his duty. His chief didn't want to fire him, but he had pressure from up top.
I mean, this is where the solution is for everyone. This is where we actually need to look for this if we want to change this. When I was looking in this particular case with Floyd George, when I was looking at this, come on, man. I think the police chief, if I'm not mistaken, is a black guy. The district attorney. There's lots of people. The mayor is it's Democrat, right? This is a Democrat-run place. You have people of color in positions here. These are the people who could change this. If someone elected you, this is what they elected you for. Like, what the hell are we electing people for? Are we electing them so that they run for the next office?
Yes. Yeah, that's what we're doing nowadays. And I think part of the problem, if you want to go up to the next level, obviously beyond the state, and you see this, my dad is ex-military. He still works for the feds in the Defense Information's, communication infrastructure. So he's a civilian, but he still works for the government.
Is that code for CIA? I don't know what.
No,
Yeah.
it's
That's code, right,
basically-
Kevin?
They're basically like the ISP for the internet, so they provide the
Okay.
communications.
I was ready to get up off this
CIA,
laugh.
CIA. I'm just saying.
But,
Hold on
okay.
now.
But I don't know how much. I don't want to talk about his too much. But,
I'm just teasing you. I'm just teasing you, Ro.
Yeah, he complains about how the people up in DC at headquarters, a lot of them don't care. They're like, hey, we got to make sure that we do this by the budget and all this stuff. We're wasting taxpayers' money if we don't do our due diligence here. And they don't care. They're just like, whatever, man. It's not my money. I don't give a crap. And a lot of them, when you get to the bottom line with it, it's that unelected bureaucracy that writes a lot of the laws. That's why when you hear all these politicians talk, they talk about double barrel extended magazine clips, or AR-14s and things like that, because they don't know, they're not the ones writing the laws. So it's those people that we can't get rid of sometimes that are causing the most problems. It's your example with the sheriff. We can get rid of the sheriff. You can't get rid of the chief of police as the normal Joe voter out there. And the same thing happens in the federal level. It happens at every level, and that's the real difficult nut to crack.
Yeah.
And with the politicians too, they're a mafia as well. You've got the red and the blue on each side, and from local to state, sometimes your local mayor might be on the up and up, but as soon as the party boss is like, hey, we can't have you're not towing the party line here, you're going to make us look bad, we're going to make sure you don't get elected, or if you have any ambitions to run for the federal level or state, you're done, buddy. That's it.
Yeah.
You're excommunicated.
Yeah, I think we're seeing this problem so for example, the FBI. I don't know what the hell the FBI is up to lately.
Yeah.
Investigating you.
Yeah, they're getting involved in politics, but isn't the FBI supposed to be dealing with issues like this? When you have problems going on in departments, when there's people who are out of control, like what the hell did we get the FBI for? We didn't get them to tap into the president's counsel, and try to incriminate them. That's not what we got the FBI for. We got them to deal with these kinds of things, but they're not doing that. Or it's like with the ATF, man. Like there was a story that I put out. That's why I'm rocking the Boogaloo shirt. The ATF literally put out a warning to police officers about people wearing Boogaloo shirts. Do you guys know that?
Yep.
Like that's
I saw your
legit.
video on
They
that.
really did that.
Yeah, that's a legit thing.
What?
Come on, man.
Yep.
They told them to look out for these guys in Boogaloo shirts. What the hell? What's going on at the ATF? Like, where did their jurisdiction extend into shirts? This is the problem that I think that we have. Like, something's massively going wrong, and when we see incidents like this, I'm not trying to take away from it or anything like that. It's terrible, right? But this is all the way through law enforcement. Everyone's just totally lost. Everyone's just doing this for the money, the power, or whatever it is. And it's only a matter of time before the people realize that they're a bigger mafia than everyone else.
And you know what? Not only are you 100% right, I think most people should also realize that you can say everything that you just said and feel the way you feel, and nothing is wrong with what you said. I don't have a bad thought about anything you said. I think where we get confused and conflicted when it comes to controlling law enforcement in this country is that people don't believe you can be balanced. Like, everybody's so used to tribalism in one shape, form, or fashion. Like, unfortunately, a few weeks ago, I just came back from Mike Mosier's funeral. I am really good friends with Corinne Mosier. I love Corinne. That's like, she's a sweetheart. I met Mike a couple times. We laughed, we joked, we played around. He was a really good dude. The last time I seen Mike, I was in Vegas and we did this celebrity basketball game.
Right, this is a police officer, right? For people who don't know.
Yeah, it's a police officer.
Yeah.
Mosier. But I asked Corinne to come, play in the game. And she was like, well, I can't play, but we'll come. And Mike's like, yeah, we'll come. Mike came to support the basketball game. Why is that important? Yeah, for just a lens, Mike is a white dude, right? He came to a basketball game to support firearms and safety education to inner city children and mentorship. That's why he came to the game, to support that. Mike also did tons of work in his community outside of just wearing the badge. Tons of work. One of the things he did, he had a it was called Operation Real. And one of the organizations in Operation Rudolph that worked hand to hand with Mike was the NAACP, amongst other organizations, right? And Mike did this work. He did work. He was a president of his fraternal police order. He did a ton of work. He was a really good, solid dude. And somebody took his life. And it hurt my damn heart because he was a good man. So I made the drive to go down there. And I was blessed to be invited in with the family. And I went down there and I paid my respects to a good man that was doing good work in the world outside of the badge and with the badge on, and lost his life to a criminal. When we lose people like that, it hurts. Yeah. Because we don't want to lose people like that. And then once you get past that, I can also come back and say the crap I saw in Minnesota was flat out murder, and that dude needs to be held accountable. Right? So I wish everybody would incorporate just a little bit more balance to their conversations.
Absolutely. I think everything's like that. Everything's perspective, and we just need to think about it and realize that our perspective, like on our side, it looks different from how it looks on another side, and that doesn't make our side better, their side worse, or anything like that. If we can't like learn how to turn things around three-dimensionally, we're never going to solve this. We're just going to be shouting at each other, rioting, fighting each other. Someone, because someone loses some kind of respect over here, they become a police officer and start taking things out on someone because they think that gives them a license. This is how we wind up in this situation, and we get out of it by elevating ourselves.
Hey, Hank, I don't mean to cut you off, but you might want to know this. Apparently, the feed's going crazy about they just destroyed CNN headquarters.
Yeah, I saw Eli EDC talking about that, but does anyone actually have a news link about that?
Yeah, I can see Atlanta protesters graffiti, smash windows at CNN headquarters.
In Atlanta?
Yes. Protests break out outside. Let me see if I can put that in our chat in the...
Yeah, right here. Yeah, so for some reason... Okay, yeah, so I do see here. I'll run this in from my phone. CNN Center heavily vandalized during Atlanta protest against death of George Floyd. George Floyd protests spread nationwide. That's definitely not a good development. I mean, I don't have love lost for CNN, but once we start doing this kind of stuff,
that is a lot of people.
Yeah. Yep. Let me see if I could pull up a thing here. So now in places where this thing didn't directly affect those people, we're getting a direct effect from it.
Well, I think the other thing that a lot of people need to keep in mind is that this is kind of a perfect storm situation. We have a time in history now where I think we have the lowest faith, I think in decades, the lowest faith we've ever had in our leaders, in our institutions, in the media. You don't really know who to trust. Anybody can say whatever they want without consequence a lot of times. People can make things up at any moment and it can go viral. And the next thing you know, people get hurt for no reason other than somebody made up a rumor or their lives get destroyed. So, and obviously we just went through COVID-19. So you've got 2 months where people are unemployed, where they've been listening to the media, they feel lied to, they feel desperate. So now when something happens that they can take their emotion out, how many of these people are unemployed too, that they're just frustrated with everything that's happened these last few months, and that's exacerbating the problem. You got 40 million people unemployed in this country now, and anything can trigger a situation with that many people that may be desperate. So I think that's why you're seeing it spread everywhere too. That doesn't help.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to roll in some of that that stuff that's breaking. Yeah. I don't know. So what do you guys think about this particular thing happening right now?
Well, I can tell you one thing, and it might not be funny, but I guarantee you somewhere Trump is like getting a real chuckle out of this. That's like CNN headquarters, like wow. Yeah. It's that damn. Like you wouldn't think, CNN's going to be attacked, but clearly they are.
Well, I mean, and the funny thing is, so let me just put this comment here from Brian Quick. He says, to claim the leadership in Atlanta is racist is the most ridiculous premise I ever heard. Obviously, there are a lot of people of color that are in powerful positions in Atlanta. But I think we've gone beyond this. I think almost like what Ro was saying, that you have coming out of this COVID restriction, there's people just like busting at the seams right now to do something and to somehow, get out here and get their frustrations out. And to me, this is not the way to do it. This is not how you do it.
I don't think that and I've been attacked is a strong word, but I've had people definitely share their opinions with me about toughen up. You're not militant enough. I'm like, dude, no, I'm just too smart. All right. When you start doing stuff like that, it definitely distracts from what the overall principle is. I think on the other side of it, even though I'm not in support of it, people in general want to be heard. And I brought up the Boston Massacre. And a couple of people engaged with me when I put up a post today. And like I told them about the Boston Massacre, the point was to compare the Boston Massacre to what happened in Minnesota. What the comparison is the people that were dealing with the things leading up to the Boston Massacre were identified as patriots. That's how they identified themselves. They identified as patriot. You know what happened? Some of those patriots or some of those opportunists, instead of just, because they looted too, but instead of just looting the places that you wanted it to be targeted, right? The British strongholds, the loyalist homes, and things like that. They also had a sect of them that went and raped women, that brutalized and beat people mercilessly. Like, so you're gonna always have a small group of people that can corrupt your overall mission, right? The problem with today with social media is the people that are causing the chaos get all the attention, even if they are the minority of the group, right? So that's how I feel. So I wish they wouldn't do it because it hijacks the message.
Yeah,
it does.
Absolutely. Let me get Mike in here. We lost Kevin again. We'll probably get him back. Mike, what do you think about this? Like seeing this popping up now in different states. What does that make you think?
Well, you talking as far as like the CNN incident, or
well, like so this thing happened in Minneapolis, but we're getting reactions all over the country now, not just out in Atlanta and Georgia.
As far as the different protesters and things like that. I spoke to a few different people. My sister, she lives in Atlanta. I have quite a few family members spread around. I've talked to them about it, and I mean, it's. I respect it. I feel like that is their right as an American. Period. That is our right to protest. When there's a situation like this that happened. But back to the point, it's like what reason are you doing it? Are you doing it for the right reasons? That's all. That's just what I want to tell people. Like I'm all for that. I feel like you should do it in every single state in this country. If they did that right now, cool. But it's how you're doing it. You get a lot of people out there that's, like I said, that's looting and, doing these different things, for the wrong reasons and trying to just get a bunch of free stuff. I just don't agree with it. I mean, but as far as to answer your question, I feel like it should be in every single state in this country. I don't see there's nothing wrong with that. That is their right as Americans to do that.
There should be protesting.
Protesting, just not everything else going on around it. Right now, the police officers and the police department, they're actually doing their job. I mean, it'd be different if it was if they were pussyfooting around. Excuse my language, but if they were just pushing it off. But because they're working hard and they're trying to get this stuff resolved, and they're getting those officers looks like they're going to get some jail time for what they did. And they're getting justice for the people. I feel like they should. I don't feel like it should be going this way. I feel like there's another way.
Right. So how does it make you feel to see that like people want to burn down, basically the country? It seems like there's some element out there. I hate to be a conspiracist, but it seems to me like people are really pushing this. Although this particular situation obviously has a lot of emotional impact behind it. But it seems to me like people want to use this to burn everything down right now. And we're probably at the worst time in history of America to start burning everything down in America.
Yeah, I will say this: almost 80% of the people out there that's doing these things don't know what they're doing. They don't know. They don't have a single clue. They're just out there. A lot of people are in this world. almost 80% of people are followers, almost in a way. In my opinion, I just feel like they're just out there doing it because they see other people doing it. If you look at a lot of those videos, there's a lot of criminals and there's a lot of young people. Our young people, we have those. Myself also. Sometimes we don't, we're not thinking so clearly, and we just do things because we see others doing it. A lot of them are out there just doing it because they see other people doing it. They may not even know this man's full name. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're just running a trend. That's what young people do. A trend, and even older people. I feel like if you're not out for the right reasons, go in the house. Go in the house, seriously, because you're not doing nothing, and you are destroying his like reputation, his legacy in this way. They don't. I'm pretty sure he don't want to see people busting Dollar Trees down and fitness centers and burning. Come on.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Like, I understand being upset. I'll be upset too. I would be very upset. I understand their reason of being out there. I feel like they should be out there and they should be protesting. And they should make this let it be known that we're not tolerating this stuff anymore. We don't want to see any unarmed black men being killed by police brutality, all that good stuff. I understand all that, and I am for it. But just do it. Have the right mindset and know what you're out there for. Don't just be out there doing it because you see others doing it.
Okay, all right.
That's what
Absolutely, well said. Okay, Rolando, what do you think about it?
I think, just kind of going off of what I said before, I think it's almost inevitable where we're going. I know I've always talked with my wife about this, that if the boogaloo or something happens, I mean, do people not see this and see something that they would think that this is what the boogaloo would be, except you'd actually have people killing each other openly in the streets? Does that seem like a good thing? I mean, it doesn't to me. And I understand the emotion behind it. I understand wanting to do something about it. And I understand the feeling of helplessness. But so many of the people that also talk about the helplessness, you ask them what they've actually done in their communities. Have they gone out to vote? Have they spoken with their politicians? Have they actually tried to do something? And some people have. And I've gone out there, I've written, to my congressman, I've let my voice be heard. I know people who've done even more, and sometimes it doesn't amount to anything. It's true. But that's the system that we have. That's what you need to do first. So I get frustrated when I see people who've done nothing, who just want to go out there and cause chaos. But in the same light, I'm not surprised that CNN is being going after. I would be surprised if the other big media organizations are also not gone after, because again, I think at this time, fake news is a real thing, and I think people feel that the media has contributed to a lot of the problems that we have in this country. And so to see them not only go after police, but to go after the media, it's no surprise. To me, it's the next thing. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Twitter and Facebook get attacked next. To me, I just think I would be surprised if it didn't. That's just where we are.
But it's weird, though. Like I saw earlier in the news, Kevin, that some cameramen or a news crew for CNN were arrested in Minneapolis and then released.
Yeah.
What would be the reason connected to these protests to tear down CNN? I agree they're fake news. They're not on our side. I would assume they would be on the side of these people who are out there protesting, right or wrong.
You know what, CNN, I watched that video of those guys being arrested from their cameras. And despite how you feel about, what somebody does or what they represent, they have the right to talk. They have the right. They have a First Amendment right to cover the news. They were news professionals. They can do that. They were very polite. Like them, love them or hate them. They were very polite. They even apologized to the officer. Hey, we only moved here because we wanted to make sure we stayed out of your way. Like, where would you like for us to go? Anything, officer. Anything to avoid conflict. Very nice. They arrested them anyway. So it goes to show that you can't.
Regardless of knowing that they were a news crew.
Yeah, they were a news crew, and they arrested all of them. And I mean, they were all very polite. Like, okay, officer, can you just take my camera off of me then? I'm being arrested, fine. Can you? A cop took his camera off, set it down nice and gently, and they arrested him. And I don't think that this has anything to do with what happened in Atlanta, but it goes to show that we have to be careful about because a lot of people are like, oh, finally CNN got their just due when it came to guys being arrested. Yeah, would you have felt the same way if it was Fox News? Like, everybody's got the right to the First Amendment. They should be allowed to talk, even if they would. even if half of what they say is BS, they have the right to say it, right? So to me, it's unfortunate that we've come to a place to where all of our rights are being attacked, because they are.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I don't really understand I don't see the rationale behind doing it. But for sure, I know there's some people who want to get this all spinned up. I see some guys talking in the chat like, hey, there's got to be someone funding this and pushing everyone, or all these people. Everyone's not doing it, right? We're obviously not doing it. Do you guys think there's someone trying to light this this keg on fire right now?
Well, if you look at, which I know is kind of maybe not proven, but can you have agitators? Absolutely. I mean, we got pictures today of guys that were in the Minneapolis riots with comms in their ears, right? Yeah, they got like professional comms in their ears. You got the guy that's potentially is a police officer from a neighboring jurisdiction busting out the windows in AutoZone. Right? And
is that real? Have we verified that guy was actually a police officer? And then
there are more and more reports coming out. They release his name, release his department, and say that the people that are saying it know him. And that's why they started to approach him like something is weird about this dude, right? And it is kind of strange. Like, I wasn't standing there, but what made everybody single him out? You know what I mean? Like, why? It had to be something that they sensed that wasn't right about him. So I think that you can definitely have agitators. I mean, look, man, when we had Katrina, you saw the police looting and rioting with everybody else in full uniform. So yeah, I believe there can absolutely be agitators. Why the spark at the CNN spot? I don't know. I think the only thing now, them protesting, look, man, I'm 100% with that all day long. And I do believe it's the minority of people that is actually out there doing it. I think the saddest thing is that's just blocks from where MLK Memorial is, like that. And that's not what he would have wanted. You know what I mean? So that's kind of...
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think that there's just people who are already pointed in this direction and are already upset for whatever reason, and they're just intent on creating damage all around the country. And I don't know how that actually brings any kind of resolution by just going around and destroying everything. But once people are in motion to do something, I guess they just stay in motion to do that.
Yep.
Yeah. And you can also look at who stands to make money from it. That's always a good spot to start looking. Who stands to make money from chaos? And ain't nothing wrong with looking at them.
Well, I'll tell you who stands to gain the most from this kind of chaos. The government. The people in power right now. They stand to gain the most. Because out of this comes more laws, more restrictions, more infringements. That's what comes out of this.
Yep.
So, Brian Quick says, which I think he's in. I think Brian Quick is in Georgia, right? Or he's in Atlanta or something.
He's in the Atlanta area,
yeah. He says, I think it's just coincidence that CNN is near the epicenter, not a statement about CNN itself. And J.R. Walls, that's your chick, bro. Did you know that? Hawaiian shirts will get you red flag now, guys. Yeah, we know that. Kathleen Music Lover says it's all my fault. I
cannot believe they are targeting people because of a damn shirt.
They are, man. There's lots of things going on. I believe that we're going to see some more leaks coming out on this. That government agencies are doing lots of things to target not just people with Hawaiian shirts, but gun guys, people like us.
Yeah, I will say this, and I don't like to say a whole bunch of things, man, but people often ask me, why wouldn't you, do this and do this and do that thing? I can tell you firsthand that I have been asked by, I'm not going to say they're the most powerful people around me, but people with some influence, let's just say that, say, hey, you think you can convey your message this way? You think you can say that, hey, could you hold off on saying this? I'm like, no. Why? Because I'm not beholden to anybody. You can't hold me. Like, there's no money you can hold over my head. But that doesn't mean that they're not looking for a way to shut me up, shut everybody up that's speaking out. So be aware of that, man. Like, it is a hunt to at least suppress the voices of people that they believe inspire others. They absolutely want to do that.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of times, man, we think things are going to help us, and out of that just comes more restrictions, more lockdowns. So, yeah, you know what? It's disappointing to see all that going on. It's just unfortunately how people are reacting these days, and I'm not really sure when it's going to stop. But I am sure that the people who would be behind something like this, pushing it, they want it to stop when it's all out chaos. You know, and the people who could stop that is us. You know, so that's the thing that everyone out there needs to think. Like, when everyone else is losing their minds, you always need to stay calm and in control of your own self.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
We got to be careful, man. And then we still got. I saw people commenting earlier, like, we still got COVID we're dealing with, right? Like, is this going to make them slow down the phases of, reestablishing the economy and push everybody back indoors? You know, are they going to start imposing curfews now, to your point, Hank, about giving the government more power, right? And then if these city leaders start pleading and begging for help, well, when they get the help that they're asking for, man, it's not going to be a pretty sight. It is. Like, I can tell you right now, the people in Minneapolis, I'm pretty sure they don't enjoy the National Guard being on their streets.
Well, yeah, I mean, if we're already dealing with those in power, like the president talking about National Guard, I think these things popping up in major cities around the country, it's definitely going to move us in that direction, that we start seeing National Guard popping up everywhere as well. So,
yeah, I've seen it, and it's not a good look.
No,
it's not. And look, the National Guard, when they were here, didn't do much. It's just not a good look to see Humvees parked at your local gas station. It's like, it's just, I mean, they're kind of cool looking. I almost wanted to just hop in one and, drive. I know they don't have keys, but I thought they would shoot me, so I didn't do it. But it's not humble. It's not a good feel that I got military vehicles on my streets trying to restore chaos or restore order. It's not a good feel, man. People you really don't want that.
No, the real boogaloo boys that everyone needs to look out for is the government. Just want to remind you guys of that. The real boogaloo boys that are really dangerous is the government, and they have stuff that you just can't even wrap your mind around. Not just the Humvees, man. Those Black Hawks, all kinds of things at their disposal, and we don't want to give them a reason to start pulling those things out. So listen, it's 9:00. Unfortunately, I actually have to go do John Crump's podcast after this. Fireside Chats. I think it's at 10, right, Lola? Yes. Yeah. So I don't want to keep you guys here. We should probably wrap it up. I think it was a really good conversation. I enjoyed the input from everyone. Let's kind of like go around here and get folks to tell the people out there listening to this how they can support you all. Let me see. I'm going to start with Rolando, Puerto Rican Pistolero. How can people find out more about you and support you, man?
Right now, in the chat, you can see Locked and Loaded Latinos is our YouTube channel. We just posted a video just from SHOT Show the other day. You guys are actually maybe not all in the first one. KD for sure is with Argo J. But I got another one, the next phase of more SHOT Show. You guys are actually all in it. We're going to produce more content. Obviously, we want to spread the message of 2A ownership and civil rights in the Latin American community. So you can find us there or at Puerto Rican Pistolero on Instagram.
Okay, awesome. Let's keep moving around here. Kevin Dixie, you're next. We're going kind of like counterclockwise. So,
all right, okay. Great. Hey, Rolando, one thing I want to say is, and I'm serious when I say this, I want you to send me a message, call my phone. You need to let me know how I can support you.
Thank you, sir.
I can support the Latino movement. So please do.
Yes,
as far as me, keep up with the training. Head over to my Instagram. You can find out the links to the training. It's noc-where.myshopify.com. If you're in the Minneapolis area, I'm actually coming there in the middle of July. That was already scheduled. It wasn't something I did after this happened. It's already scheduled. I'm doing a rifle class one day and a pistol class the next. So please come out and train with me. That would be awesome. Look out for a lot of the Instagram content, new website that's going to be coming up soon. because I don't know how long we're going to be able to have freedom on these platforms. So I want to make sure I get the website up. And just come over, engage, man. One thing I can say on my Instagram in particular, at the Real NOC, we're having a lot of great dialogue, and it's all mature and it's all great discourse and discussion. It's not a bunch of filth. So come over, join, support, man. And yeah, be looking out for a big announcement I got coming up in 3 weeks. Yeah, I'll be having a big announcement in 3 weeks. Yeah.
All right, cool. Mychael, how can the folks out there find out more about you? How can they support you, man?
Well, my Facebook, I'll start off with my Facebook page, MJ's Firearms LLC. You can go and add me there. Instagram is MJ's Firearms 33. I'm FFL, so if you're interested in buying any firearms, ammo, accessories, things like that, you can go on my website at mjsfirearms.com. YouTube is MJ's Firearms as well. So. Okay,
awesome. Let's see here. I definitely want to thank everyone that showed up here. I know that there's a lot of crazy things going on. I definitely appreciate you coming on, Kevin Dixie. You know, we gotta make it more. Yeah, I know you're busy.
No, dude, I have to get back on here more. And just my last little spiel. Look, guys, thanks for having me on. Thanks, Mike and Rolando, for coming on tonight, and for everybody out there engaging. Look, guys, we're not. I want you to remember this, and why I said it. We're not always going to see the same thing or believe in the same thing, but at the end of the day, no matter how you look at it, we're all in the same fight. All right, we're just trying to figure out how to win. Yeah. That's where the discourse is coming at. So understand we're all on the same page. Having disagreements does not mean that we are not in the same battles, that we're not brothers. Because you look different than me doesn't mean you want the same freedoms I want, and vice versa. So be mature, be adults. We are the ones that are leading this country, and let's make sure we leave it better than the way we received it.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. And I want to thank Mychael. Mychael, I want to thank you as a young person coming on here. Same thing with Rolando. It's cool to get a perspective of people in a little bit of a different generation, and seeing that you guys are willing to really put your faces out here, man. It's not, if you haven't done it before, then you might not realize that's not really easy to do this, because people start coming after you or whatever because you're speaking up. So I respect you guys doing that.
Yeah. You know, thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely. We got to do it more. I want to thank everyone out there. I want to tell all you guys, if you're still here, smash the thumbs ups. Okay, let me roll in the end here. Don't forget to go to hankstrange.com. Sign up for the email list. Lola is telling me that the sales that are going on with Olight that we were talking about last night, those things are still in effect. Okay, as well as big shout out and thanks to Safety Harbor Firearms for sponsoring the podcast. We appreciate all of you guys. Be safe out there. Stay safe over this weekend. We will see you on Monday. Be good. Thanks to everyone on the panel. Make sure you go follow these guys and support them. You know, Kevin's got to figure out how to pay for these stogies.
He got it. Don't let him fool y'all.
I know. That's I totally 100% get it. Baller status. Okay. Kevin, what's your tell the people about your live thing real quick before we go. So that on IG that you do every week. The live thing that you do on IG.
Stogies and Traps. So yeah, we'll be kicking it back up next week, guys. If you want to now. It's kind of funny, but Stogies and Straps, follow my Instagram feed. What I'm doing is inviting on people inside and some of them outside of the firearms world just to have relaxed, like bonfire type conversations, just men and women sitting back having casual conversations about issues of the world.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right, we'll see you guys. We're out of here. Last words. Anyone's got some last words? Who's got it? Oh, wow. Nobody has any last words out there.
I was trying.
Yeah, Hank, appreciate it, brother.
All right. See you guys. Good night. Peace.
Take care.